the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we're very glad to welcome somebody the community probably knows already. He's been around, and most of us know him, but I want to welcome the Executive Director of Jobs for America's Graduates, JAG of Nevada, Dr. René Cantú. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
I am good, René. And again, we were talking off camera. René also volunteers his time and serves as a local elected official as a member of the state's Board of Education. So
that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so thank you for your service there.
Thank you, sir.
So let's start, René. Again, I've known you for a while, but for any members of our audience, listeners, or viewers on YouTube channel that don't know you, tell them about where René Cantú was born, raised, went to school, then college. Take us to your first job out of college.
Oh, okay. You got it. So anyway, I was born in Laredo, Texas, on the Texas-Mexican border. I grew up there. I left when I was 18, but, those formative years were important. My parents, neither one attended college. My father received his GED from the Army. My mother left high school in 11th grade. And I was very close to my great-grandparents growing up. And some of the key experiences that I had growing up, one with my great-grandfather, who had been a migrant farm worker, was working out, in the land, working in the field, doing this sort of physical work where you learn how to work and appreciate things. And, with my father and his father, they had a meat market. And so from the time I was probably 7 or 8, or younger, I was in the meat market, cleaning cans, arranging the meat trays, that kind of thing. So a lot of the work and the work ethic came from those folks and from my folks. And, my father really emphasized, and my mother, the importance of education. And so, they had not, like I said, finished high school. So they encouraged us, to do well. The issue is that in high school, because of, some challenges that were happening in the home, my grades dropped. I started skipping school a whole lot. I was almost kicked out of high school. I barely graduated bottom quarter of my class. And while I was in high school, I was encouraged by one of my counselors to drop out of high school. They're like, yeah, you may as well drop out because you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. That conversation, I think, sparked a lot of indignation and anger in me. And I wanted to prove, my counselor wrong, that I was somebody, that I was important, that I mattered. And so, I finished high school. I was accepted provisionally, which is on probation, to the University of Texas at Austin.
Wow.
And so the program back then, there was no remedial classes back then. It was all sink or swim. And so the way the program worked when I went to UT at Austin was you take English, math, science, foreign language. If you pass, you can stay. And if you don't, you go. It's pretty much sink or swim. I went on to finish my bachelor's in 3.5 years there. And then went on to get a master's, eventually a PhD while I was already working professionally. And so that was a very important part of, kind of my upbringing. When I had lived in Laredo, in addition to working with my, family, I always had a job. I worked at McDonald's. At one point in Laredo, the peso had devalued. And so the unemployment was awful. It was 26% unemployment. This was 1982, 83, and showing my age too. But, I worked at a Church's Fried Chicken that summer. There were jobs to be had. They were just not the jobs people wanted. And, if you remember, the minimum wage back then was $3.35 an hour. That gave me the desire, the impetus, the push to stay in college and finish, right? Because I didn't want to do that in the long term. And so, finished at university. My first job was with the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities out of college. I was a coordinator for what they called the Hispanic Student Success Program, HSSP, in San Antonio, Texas.
Wow.
And our job, I've been doing this work for 35 years. The focus was, helping young people who are historically underserved, who have fewer economic prospects and opportunities than others, and helping them to graduate. And at the time, the emphasis was less workforce and more college. It was like everybody go to college, just get out there. Let's get as many to college. And that was the message. So it was a terrific start for me.
So René, when did you actually leave then Texas? Take us from those days to your next professional steps where you actually got here to Southern Nevada. And again, I've known you through the roles to the Latin Chamber Foundation and now JAG, but take us to that next step. Bring us to date. What is there some key milestone in that career trajectory from leaving Texas to where you are now?
Sure. Well, getting to the point of coming to Nevada, to Las Vegas, I arrived here. We came here in October of 2001, immediately after 9/11. And so I remember I interviewed for a job. I was living in San Antonio. My wife and I and our 1-year-old son at the time flew in on 9/10 for an interview on 9/11 at the Community College of Southern Nevada. Watched the buildings fall and then went into a job interview. Everybody was stunned and devastated, but somehow we walked through the interview and somehow, the job offer was made. At that point in time, I had dedicated my career to higher education. So I had been in higher ed for a number of years, and I was working on my doctoral degree at that point in time. I didn't finish till 2002. But the focus was higher ed admin. It was student affairs. It was a lot of focus on programs like, Upward Bound, Talent Search, Gear Up, programs that help young people who are, to use the term, at risk. That was the term at the time. To be able to advance, educationally, economically, that kind of thing. So that got me here, right? Yeah. I worked there in the university system. I worked here in 01 at CCSN, and in 03, I was hired by then President Kerry Romsberg at Nevada State College. He was, I think, the second president at NSC. To serve as an assistant vice president for student affairs. And so I spent 6 years at Nevada State College, saw it grow from about 300 students to about 1,500 back then. And it was just a tremendous place. I love doing startups. So getting something off the ground, has been amazing. From that point, I had been serving as a director for the Latin Chamber of Commerce. And in 08-09, I had been the vice chair of the Latin Chamber. And that at that point in time, one of your colleagues, Irene Bustamante Adams, was chair of the Latin Chamber. I was vice chair, probably at the lowest economic point that the state had been in
a
long time. And, we set about really making sure that the Latin Chamber was going to survive. Irene asked me to, look at the foundation, which is the nonprofit piece, and to really, work on that piece. And so that's kind of how that avocation, that volunteer work became a full-time job when I left Nevada State.
And from there to JAG after the foundation?
After the foundation? I received 10 and a half years ago now. It's been 10 and a half years. I had left the foundation, and I remember I was walking on one of the trails in our neighborhood and received a call about, whether I would be interested in applying, to be the executive director for JAG. At the time, there was no nonprofit. I was the first employee of JAG, and I was hired by Frank Woodbeck, you know Frank, and Dale Urquiaga and Dennis Perea.
Wow.
They were the board at the time. And they basically said, hey, there's this program. It's for students like, for me, it was like, it's for students like you,
Yeah.
young people who, but for some very positive intervention, might have gone in a very different direction in life. And so for me, it was a dream job. And I got to do startup again, right? And so we grew from, having 6 programs in northern Nevada to over 65 programs across the state.
Mm.
And so, it's been just a tremendous journey to see, JAG grow. And at this point in time, we have helped produce 22,280 work-ready graduates.
Wow. So tell us about the mission of JAG, and for our audio audience as well, how there's is there one national organization, René? Is there 50 franchises, one for each state, or is it more regional? Tell us how that first the vision, the mission of the organization, and then how it breaks down to its subsidiaries like JAG Nevada, for example.
Oh, you got it. So you're right. We are an affiliate of Jobs for America's Graduates. Our mission is to help Nevada's young people to receive the skills, the resources, and the support they need to succeed in education, employment, and in life. So that is the mission. The vision is to help all the young people that we serve to reach their greatest potential. That is kind of our mission. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We were established by the state at the request of Governor Brian Sandoval back in the day. He wanted the JAG program in Nevada to be able to leverage public-private partnerships. And so that's when he decided, I believe, that he wanted it to be a nonprofit. So the state actually created our nonprofit back in the day. And so in terms of how we work with JAG National, JAG is a national affiliate organization, Jobs for America's Graduates. It was founded in 1979 by Ken Smith. After 43 years, our founder retired about a year and a half ago. And in that time, it grew from, one state, Delaware, to over 39 states across the country. And so the way that the affiliation works is that we're a network of independent state JAG organizations. About 60% of us are nonprofit. Another 40% or so are actually embedded either in the Department of Labor, like Dieter, or in the Department of Education. Mm. So if you look at a state like Indiana, a state like Louisiana, the JAG program actually comes out of either the Dieter side or the NDE side. Wow. And so what JAG does is they have this highly effective, data-driven, proven model or set of models that helps the most historically underserved, struggling students who face the most barriers to be able to re-engage with school and to be able to graduate. And one of the unique features of the model is that we continue working with young people for 12 to 24 months after graduation. So it's a multi-year intervention. It is an intervention that goes very deep. Mm-hmm. And so every student who is in the JAG program, we're high school based. All of our employees are embedded at the high schools full time. And so they teach elective credit courses. Those courses focus on work readiness, career exploration, career selection, career preparation, personal development, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, civic engagement. All of these things are part of the JAG curriculum. So there's the class, and then there is a career association. And so every student who is in the JAG class, has to need, want, and benefit from the program. So they are identified, but they themselves must self-select into the program. And so very often our young people, when they come in, last year had an average of 17 absences upon entry, just a little over a 2.0 GPA, and disciplinary issues, credit deficiency, a number of other barriers. We identify an average, our students have an average of 9 barriers that we have identified through our individual development plans to their success. And so what we do is we identify, one of the key things we look at, Jaime, is, are they in the bottom academic quartile? That's one of the things. So we try to help, at least 50% of students to come from the bottom academic quartile, and then the rest come from the, middle tier and from the upper tier, in terms of mixed ability. So it's a class, it's a club, it's a very comprehensive intervention that provides over 130 contact hours for every young person. What we have found is that there are many wonderful interventions out there, but and they're important, but what students who need intensive support, when you think in terms of, the school's multi-tiered system of service, MTSS, many need tier 2 and tier 3 supports, so very extensive supports. And that's what JAG provides. So if a student is having a bad day the night before they got kicked out of the house, their JAG specialist is there to help them.
Yeah. No, it's a tremendous program. At the end of the day, like you said, René, it's the impact that how you change lives. Can you share with us a story? And you don't have to use names, of course, but a story of a participant who you felt their life really was changed by this program?
If I may, I'll share 2.
Yes, please.
And that's okay. So the first one is a young person, a young woman whose father was deported from the United States and who needed very extensive support at a time when their family was ripped apart in order to remain engaged in school. And so this young person, with the help of their JAG specialist, was able to persist in school, eventually to excel in school again. This young woman has gone on to UNLV, is finishing her baccalaureate degree, and is going into the William Boyd School of Law to become an immigration attorney. She's interning with one of the federal judges here downtown. And this terrible thing that happened to her has become the catalyst that she has used to get in this path to help other people, which is, I think, what JAG is all about.
Yeah.
The other story is another, young woman, and this is in a rural setting. Somehow she ended up with losing her father, passing away, and her mother being incarcerated. And so she was left, in a very difficult position in a rural setting. The JAG specialist worked with her after she graduated. They worked with a financial advisor at the time. She bought a semi truck and started driving, her semi across the country. The first year, I believe, out of school, she earned $80,000 a year. She has then gone on to establish her own business and bought equipment, more semis. She no longer drives. She owns a company for which other people drive and use the equipment, but has become a very successful, entrepreneur and business person, despite, again, starting from a very challenging situation that could have devastated most adults.
Yeah. And it's wonderful because that's the power of these stories, the power of the program, that it really changes their lives for the better. And this is just 2 of thousands of stories that exist. So thank you for sharing those 2. And I think you've answered this question already. I'm going to ask it anyway. What motivates you in your role as JAG? What do you like the best about your role there?
What motivates me? My own personal belief in life is that you don't take anything with you. That, our purpose to being on this earth is to be of maximum service to others, right? That we're here to be useful, to do something, to help each other. And so, what I love about, every morning getting up and working for JAG. It's really neat to wake up and work for a program where people really believe in what they're doing. Our staff are committed life changers, man. They're into it. They're out there. They want to help young people, and, the power of the program is to sit in classroom after classroom and hear about these stories of young people's life path changed for the much better, time and again. One of the most beautiful things about the work that we do is just in listening to their testimonials just this past week, they felt unvalued, or many of our young people felt unvalued, not really important to others. Many did not feel valued in the school setting or important, and, through the JAG program and their JAG specialist, they feel important. They feel a part of. One of the most powerful things that the JAG program provides is a community of young people that support each other and don't judge each other and just help each other to succeed.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges, René, that JAG as an organization or you as their leader have to face, and how do you overcome them?
Well, if we want to talk about challenges, we can focus primarily on the challenges that our young people face, right? And so when we look at the data, confronting our young people, when we look at, the barriers that they face, obviously poverty is a big piece. The majority of the young people we serve, come from, low income backgrounds. Therefore, their exposure to careers and job opportunities is limited to what they see in their family. Many young people, come to us, and I think that we as educators have learned much more over time about this, but, they have some kind of trauma or an adverse childhood experience that has affected them deeply, and that we as educators must confront when they come into the building, when they come into the classroom. What else? Families who are struggling today with housing, with upward mobility in their jobs. When you think about educational achievement and you think about educational success, I think too often, we look at the school, we look at the district. They are responsible, but we look at them and we put all the blame on them. It's like, oh, that guy, he just is not doing a good job. In reality, when you look at why students are struggling, let's take the kids count report that recently came out. Nevada was ranked 47th. And if you look at why, certainly educational achievement is a piece of it, but it talks about economic opportunity for families. And it also talks about access to healthcare. So if you want to improve education in Nevada, anywhere, it doesn't operate in a silo. You need to look at, how do we improve healthcare? How do we improve mental health supports? How do we provide families and children economic opportunities for upward mobility? And I think part of my dream, we have really good numbers in terms of graduation, employment, post-secondary enrollment. But my dream is getting young people into launchpad careers where in 3 to 5 years, they're making $80,000, $100,000 a year without a student loan holding them back. That's my dream.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I'm glad to hear that this concept, René, is spreading, about how you said the systems are intertwined. You can't move the one without the other, whether it be you can't have economic development without good workforce development. You can't have good workforce development without education, which is where it starts in K through 12. And so it's all intertwined. And as a member of the LVGA board, I'm glad to share with you that that conversation is prevalent and understood, that we can't move to the next level of economic mobility for our state and our community without improving our healthcare system. So that's become a part of our 10-year goal. And again, as you said, there's many moving pieces in improving our healthcare system, from not just you know these problems. The how do we build a pipeline for for the registered nurse need that we have here? How do we make it easier for professionals that want to come practice here to revalidate their certifications? The rates at which professionals can receive reimbursement. There's lots of things to talk about when improving our healthcare system, but I'm glad that this concept of it's part of education is spreading out there. René, how can our audience, our listeners, our community get involved if somebody wanted to learn more about JAG or even participate in and be a part of the programs? Where do they go to learn more?
Well, thank you, Jaime, for the question. JAG's success is driven not just by the employees and our students, but also by the volunteers and supporters that make the work that we do possible. And so to learn more about JAG, I would, ask, your listeners, your watchers, to go to our website, jagnevada.org, all run together, jagnevada.org. We're always looking, for people to volunteer at our schools and in our classrooms, as well as at our events. One of our annual events that we have is a career development conference in the spring. And at that event, we are always looking for people to act as judges, for competitions in things like entrepreneurship, public speaking, building business plans, different things. So we look for volunteers in that. There are opportunities to volunteer in the classrooms, to provide support, to come tell young people about your career trajectory so that they can, I believe that if you can see it, you can be it, right? So we need to expose young people to as many careers as possible. Yesterday, we had someone from a philanthropy background at one of our schools, and young people didn't know that was like a career path, right? Oh, how do you become, someone who works for a philanthropic organization, helping to steward the dollars of well-to-do people into doing good in the community? And the other is, to, contribute and support the work. Our work is made possible, partially, by, public dollars through the state, but we also have over 31 different, corporate and private investors who support the work, who believe in the work.
And again, you can become one of those if you go to the JAG website, right? That's where you find.
Or give me a call or a text, 702-810-3068.
Awesome. We'll make sure that information's on the screen also for our viewers. And thank you for sharing that with our listeners. So, René, we've talked a lot about your work life. And I know in your business, obviously, you do have to work long hours because you have to meet with investors. You have to meet with your programmatic folks. And there's a lot to do. But when you do find time off, when you do have the time to spend with your family, what are the things that you enjoy doing? What activities, hobbies do make you happy?
Makes me happy. I'm happy most of the time, thankfully. So in terms of, enjoying time, my younger child, who is 16, got us into, rock hunting. I don't know what you'd call it, but is very interested in, and Nevada is a great place to go out and find, semi-precious or, other interesting, rocks and, fossils and different things. So it's always fun to get out there. We've done it all over, here in Southern Nevada, as well as all over the state and in California, going out and, getting in the 4Runner and, getting out a little bit and, digging around. That's always a lot of fun. I think our time off, I like to spend as much time as I can with, my wife, who's always very, very busy. Go to the movies. On my own, I love listening to books. I'm into literature, historical literature. I'm listening to probably for the third or fourth time, Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall series about Thomas Cromwell, who worked for Henry VIII. I just love that. That's a big part of, for me, relaxed time.
Very interesting. I'm glad you're finding that time. It's important to balance that work-life schedule. René, if you could talk to the 18-year-old René Cantú, what advice would you give him. Now, of course, you've collected all this wisdom. And so, I think even if we talked to our 18-year-old selves, we still wouldn't listen. We both had kids. We've been kids ourselves. But what would you tell any young person who's 18 and is just starting their life and looks at you and says, wow, he's very accomplished. He's making a huge impact in our community. He's helping others. How can I get there? What things would you give them to make sure you got to at least check these couple of things to make sure you're on that trajectory?
Okay. So for the young me, it would be relax, calm down, and that's for me specifically, just like, dude, bring it down. You're at an 8, bring it down to a 3, but in terms of what I tell young people, I would say, first of all, follow something you love, do something you enjoy, right? If you make plans, if you have a 5, a 10, a 15, 20-year plan, man plans and God laughs, right? You have to be very flexible. If you have a plan, it's not going to work out like you want it. Mm-hmm. It's just the truth. So better to enjoy what you do, pursue what you love, and let that take you to the doors that it's going to take you to. I really believe that that's absolutely critical. In my life, I've been able to pursue a career that goes back all the way to when I was in high school and told to drop out. It's like, I was, that put me on a trajectory to find this very unique career that I've had that's been about, hey, you don't say that to kids. Mm-hmm. We help kids succeed. We help all kids. All kids are valuable. It isn't just good kids or bad kids or whatever. There is no such thing. We have to help them all. And who are you as a grown-up to tell someone that this is how good or not good you are? That is not any adult's place or anybody's place to tell somebody else. You determine your own success. You determine, your own value. And the other thing is, if you fall down, get back up. If you fall down, if you make a mistake, God, go out there and make mistakes. The worst thing you could do is be worried about making a mistake and then not doing anything. So, make mistakes, try, follow what you love. I was asked one time, where do you see yourself in 5 years? At a job interview, very standard. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I would hope to be in a place where I can be of service, going back to that. And I don't worry about what that's going to be. When I was younger, maybe I wanted a title, a salary, this and that. It's like, just put me somewhere I can be useful and I'm good.
Yeah, that's great advice. As you said, it boils down to if you're doing what you love, then everything else I think will fall into place. And you're doing what you love. René, this is thank you for setting time aside from your busy schedule to come share with us. You've earned the right to plug anything you like about JAG or any other organization. What's happening? Is there any big events coming up with JAG or any other the state board, any other organizations you're involved with that you want to share with our audience?
Of course. Thank you for the opportunity, Jaime. I appreciate it. JAG Nevada is having our joint statewide initiation and installation ceremony on November the 13th, consecutively at Artemis Ham Hall at UNLV and at the Student Center at TMCC in Reno. Mm-hmm. And so the initiation installation ceremony is a time when we bring students, parents, others together to celebrate and to install the officers for the organization, but also to send the message that we're part of this bigger movement and bigger community that is helping young people to get to their greatest success. And so we're going to have stakeholders, elected officials, others, take part in the celebration of the kids that we serve. And we're going to do it together. Every year our high schools have had I&I ceremonies, which we call them, separately at each high school. And you could go to, 50 of them across the state. But we believe there's a lot of power in doing those together so that a young person or a parent can look and say, JAG isn't just this classroom, or it isn't just at Mojave or wherever. It is across the city, across the state, and across the country. So that as a member of the Nevada State Board of Education, putting on my other hat, we have a school start time survey that is out there. Okay. So one of the things that research has shown is that adolescents in high school tend to perform better in terms of academic achievement. They tend to have better mental and emotional health if they are able to start school at a later hour. So right now, kids are getting up at 4:35 in the morning to get to high school, by 6:30 or 7 a.m. In order to do their learning. And, at the State Board of Education, it's very apparent that one of the low-hanging fruits of increasing student achievement is to look at school start time. As soon as the board started looking at it and having that conversation, we started getting a lot of pushback. And a lot of the pushback came from either misperceptions or from kind of administrative entities, transportation. It's like, we can't do this because of the buses. The sky is going to fall if we change the times. My perspective is that we need to look at it and find solutions for what works best for our kids. And as we have tried to survey the community before, a lot of that has been distorted, again, by administrative expediency, other institutional needs rather than on needs of students. So I would encourage, family, students to fill out that school start time survey and inform themselves so that we as a board can make the best decision that the community wants.
And how do people find that again, René?
If they go to the Nevada Department of Education website, it's doe.nv.gov.
Okay.
There's also an article in the Review Journal about school start times, and I can't remember the exact website, but I will provide it to you.
Yeah, if you do, we'll put it here on the screen so our folks can find it.
We would love it. I'll send it right over. Yeah.
All right. Well, René, thank you. It's always, a pleasure to see you, but also today I learned a few new things. So thank you for spending time with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening.
All right. That's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at a future one. Until then, stay safe. René, thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
You better believe it.
All right. The first segment is called Your Favorite. So I'm going to start with an easy category. You're going to give me your favorite one in that category. What's your favorite food?
Mexican.
Favorite beverage with dinner?
Diet Coke.
Favorite car you've ever owned?
1967 Camaro.
Favorite musical group or artist?
Sonic Youth.
Favorite movie?
Lawrence of Arabia.
Favorite book?
Wolf Hall.
Favorite college sports team?
Hook'em Horns.
Favorite professional sports team?
Raiders.
Very good. You made it through the first segment in shining colors. Next one's called Tough Choices. I'm going to give you two choices. Hopefully you can narrow it down to one. You ready? Mm-hmm. Vacation or staycation?
Staycation.
Would you like to drive? When you go to vacation, would you like to drive there or fly there?
Fly.
When you get to your spot, René, do you rather stay in a hotel or an Airbnb?
Hotel.
When you retire one day, will it be on a ranch or in the city?
On a ranch.
If you had a day to yourself, René, would you rather spend it by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say the ocean.
If you were a superhero, would you rather have the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
The ability to speak with animals or speak any foreign language?
I'd like to speak any foreign language.
Actions or words?
Oh, definitely actions.
Justice or grace?
I'll take grace any day.
Yeah, well, you made it through the tough choices, René. The last segment is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 90% of the sentence, and you're going to finish it for me. Are you ready?
Okay.
If René could visit any place in the world, it would be
Berlin.
The best part about living here in Southern Nevada is
the winter.
René's favorite thing about his job with JAG Nevada is
the students and the teachers.
The teachers.
Yeah.
If René could travel back in time, he would travel to
the 1920s.
3 words that describe René are
motivated, enthusiastic, experienced.
Couldn't agree more. And doing the WC podcast here today with us was
Fun and informative.
all right. Thank you for staying over to do the bonus segment, René.
Hey, thank you very much.